Texas basketball with a fabulous history of bigs putting up huge numbers, and Jericho Sims fits right in. This season already has 3 games with at least 13 rebounds over the past season. 10 seasons, that puts him just behind Mo Bamba and Tristan Thompson for the most in a single year. All right, Coach, let's get into what has been a breakout season for Jericho Sims across the board. His numbers are all at career highs. What do you think ultimately has been the biggest difference in seeing the growth we've seen from Jericho's first 2 years to this season?
Honestly, the biggest difference for him has been his personal growth, which has allowed him to go do the things that he's capable of doing as a basketball player. Because, as you know, going back to his freshman year, he's always had great athleticism.
Yep.
He's always had a burst to him when he gets the ball around the basket. But he's become way more consistent with who he is. He's become more confident, more able to express himself to his teammates, and he's doing a better job, just going to get the basketball. That's, a kind of a thing that people don't talk about, but you can't score if you don't have the ball, and he's doing a lot better job going to get it.
How did he handle last season when Jackson comes up on the scene and starts taking minutes away from Jericho, from what it appeared that Jericho would be playing? How did he handle all that and process all that and then respond when it was his turn to shine?
Yeah, that was a real challenge for Jericho, because if you remember coming off of his freshman year.
Ended really well.
He ended it really well. We played about 4 or 5 games without Mo, and he was terrific during that time. So I think the assumption in his mind and a lot of people's mind was, hey, this is going to be my year, and I'm going to take off from where I left off. And for whatever reason, like a lot of other sophomores, it was tougher than he thought. And then Jackson came in and played so incredibly well. We tried playing them some together, but it just didn't really make sense for that team, which meant Jericho played less. And his attitude was always good, but I think human nature came into effect. I think it did bother him some that he wasn't playing as well or as much, because he's a prideful guy. But I thought he took a great approach going into this year, into this off season and into this season, with his work ethic, with the way that he went at improving his body, his conditioning, and his game has really displayed that.
So let's break down the game. We'll start with rebounding. Mentioned it a little earlier, but the first 2 Big 12 games of the season, he comes out with back-to-back career-high 15 rebound games. This first example against Oklahoma.
Yeah, Jericho's done a nice job just going to pursue the ball. And there's 2 different types of rebounds. There's the ones that come right to you. Those are relatively easy to get. And then there's the ones that you got to go grab. And he's doing a better job outside of his area. If this is a great example here, kind of throwing a guy out of the way, going and getting the ball, and then finishing. Obviously, if he gets it around the basket, that's going to create a high percentage opportunity for him. But we want him, again, to defeat the block out. A guy tries to block him out there, he throws a guy down. All right, and then that creates another opportunity, another possession, either for him or one of his teammates.
And he sets up this basket with a nice screen here in the back end of this play.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, again, it's about going to get an extra possession for your team, and he's doing a good job of that. And it's an area, Lowell, be honest, I think he can take a whole nother jump in. We measure what we call rebounding interval, which is how many minutes it takes you in a game to get a rebound. So when Mo was here, his was about 2.7, 2.8, which is terrific. Jericho right now is around 3.2, 3.3. The lower, the better. And he's done a really good job dropping that down over the course of the year.
Also, really good job developing his game offensively. In the past, it was the examples that we saw. Rebounds, put back, throwing it down. But we've seen a big development with his back to the basket this season.
Yeah, he's gotten more comfortable, as you see in these clips, just handling the ball. You see him, we have him out top a lot handling the ball. And then when we throw the ball into him in the post, we want to isolate him in a situation where it's one-on-one. The deeper he can catch it, the better.
So this is great position.
Yeah, this is terrific. I mean, if he can catch the ball with 2 feet in the paint, we're in business. That's going to be a high percentage shot. He shoots the highest field goal percentage of anyone on our team. So if we can put him in those situations as much as possible, that's terrific.
Now, is he lefty or righty? Because that's lefty here in these next 2, he goes righty.
Jericho's is somewhat ambidextrous. It's interesting. You probably remember this. He came in here as a left-handed free throw
shooter. Yep.
And he really struggled from the line his freshman year. And he's always been able to do a lot of things really well with his right hand, but he's shot left-handed. So we helped him make the transition to being right-handed on his free throws, on his jump shot, and it is more fluid now. But again, on these possessions, after he screens, we want to get him isolated in the post, and his job is just to create position. Does a great job of it there and makes a really, really good aggressive move. When he gets up in the air low, you know, it's going to be hard to block his shot. So that's what we want to do is try to feed him. Again, he catches it there deep in the paint and able to go make a move.
And on that last example against Cal Baptist, we see a good glimpse of the work that's done before he actually gets that position, doing his early work.
Absolutely. It's all about doing your work early because that creates the position. And again, the bigger, the stronger the guy is that you're playing against, the more you have to do your work early and you have to use your quickness and athleticism. And obviously the last couple games against Azubuike from Kansas and then against West Virginia's bigs, he's dealt with extreme physicality. And, you know, that's been a real challenge, but I think Jericho is getting sturdier and sturdier as we go.
Now, our last example are things that we've seen since he arrived on campus, the athleticism, the quick twitch, the ability to just out-athlete his competition.
Well, he's always been able to do that, and, you know, I think the thing that he's doing better now is playing with a higher motor. So that means moving a little bit quicker, reacting. In the game of basketball, you got to do A, B, and C, but you got to do them all in sequence. And he's doing a much better job of just in sequence going and making plays. On that last play, for instance, if he had hesitated low when he caught the ball and then a second later went and made the play, the window might not have been there. But he did a great job getting in position to catch it and then quickly attacking, and that's what created the dunk opportunity for him. Here you see him again in the pick and roll, sprinting to the rim, and then just going up and getting it.
So the goal for these guys, get their education, have an opportunity to also continue their basketball career, right? Jericho's going to have a chance to make money playing basketball. Sometimes, though, it's not the right time to make that jump. Is this a good example of the type of development, though, that happens when you stick around, you stay in a program, you get coached longer, now 3 seasons in?
Well, I think all those things, Lowell, and also it's the type of development that occurs, again, I know this seems simple, but when you grow as a person, you know, when you get better at expressing yourself, when you get better at responding to, you know, challenging plays, when you're able to process different emotions better, those allow you to go out there on a court and just play with more maturity, basketball maturity, we call it. So he's made a ton of progress with that. The exciting thing for Jericho is he still has a few notches that he can take in that development, and that's what it's all about. As you mentioned, all these guys have big goals. They all want to play in the NBA. But I think, again, for him, it's about continuing to grow in his consistency. You know, he had a stretch there where it was double-doubles, I think, for a few games. The guys that are able to go do the things they ultimately want to do at his size are able to do that game in and game out. And so that's where we're trying to help him continue to improve.
We'll talk about one of those lifetime Longhorn bigs, LaMarcus Aldridge, coming up later in the show.